Oh, Sunshine, do buckaroos, and how the heck are you? Let me check this real quick, see if we're working. Anyway, so what I decided to do here is two versions of a martini, one classic, one not so much. One close to classic, because I did take a little bit of a liberty with the choice of gin. Using gin and dry vermouth, well, that's classic. But I used a little bit of a different gin. It's a Songbird Gin Goldfish from Tiakida, right here in Springfield, Missouri. It is their gin finished in Sauterne cask at 94 proof, and this stuff is just gorgeous. That's the liberty I took, is using a barrel gin, if you will. Our Goldfish Sauterne cask finished gin was the first release in the Songbird series. Our bright, fresh gin evolved in the Sauterne cask, developing both wood and wine character. This stuff is just gorgeous. Let me show you that bottle one more time here. See if this is working for me yet. No, not yet. Anyways, I don't know why it takes so long for it to catch up sometimes. So what I've got in here is two blue cheese stuffed olives. That's what I had. I had blue cheese and jalapeno. I thought I had regular olives, but I guess I used them all. And I need to get some almond stuff because I have an idea for a martini, but I need some almond stuffed olives to do that. So this is very close to traditional, other than the barrel gin is. I've got the gin, about a quarter ounce of dry vermouth because I like it light on the vermouth, to be honest with you, as dry as humanly possible. And still adding some vermouth. So I got about a quarter ounce of dry in here, which is about the most I ever want to use. I'm not a real big fan, which is why typically I make a dirty martini and don't use any. Some recipes do call for a little bit of dry vermouth in a dirty martini, but I choose not to. I'm not a fan. See if this is working yet for me. There we go. Let me get this straightened out here. There we go. We're back in business. You probably know I'm not really in this nice little smoky lounge behind me, but I thought I'd create a mood for the martini yeah, anyway. So I got two of them, two martinis. Again, one close traditional, this one, and one I take a few more liberties. We'll bring that up later, though. Uh, Man, that is nice. I really like that. I'm not a big gin guy. It's taken me a while to warm up to gin. It's really over just the last couple years. Probably the last 4 years actually. I've really started trying different gins. There's some I like more than others. I have found that I really prefer barrel gins. Tomstown has a great one, but this one I really enjoy as well. Another one I really like that's not barrel though is I found I like the Navy strength. The Navy strength. Still 630 out of St. Louis has a very good one that I like. But yeah, I am a big fan of Chuck and Gin. I like those barrel notes, right? Feels like there's something missing without a barrel to me. And I do prefer the gins that balance those botanicals, that balance that juniper with the citrus. I do like them, not necessarily citrus heavy, but at least balance where I'm not getting a whole lot of juniper right up front. I'm not a big fan of those types of gins, the more traditional, I guess, if you will. I do like those that really emphasize those citrus and spice notes, if not more so, at least as much as the juniper. So it's balanced a little bit. So it doesn't taste like I'm biting into a pine tree. And this one here with that little bit of dry vermouth, is just done impeccably well. Again, you do taste those wine notes. You also taste those barreled notes, right? A little bit of oak. This one is light on the oak. The Tomstown, you really feel more, but this one adds the additional those additional wine notes that takes it a whole other direction. It's just a beautifully done gin. For the longest time, when I had a martini, I was a vodka martini guy. Shaken, not stirred. There's been some arguments about that. Should your martini be shaken or stirred? Got into a rather spirited discussion with somebody the other day about that. They used to say that you don't want to shake a gin martini, right? You want to stir. You want to gently get it cold for fear of bruising the gin, right? You want to bruise the gin, so you got to get it gently, gently cold. What But here's the thing. This is what a lot of folks don't get about that James Bond role, right? The James Bond shaken, not stirred. He's having a vodka martini. Now, vodka you want very cold. You're not going to bruise, and you want to get it as cold as possible, as quick as possible, and shaking that liquid is going to get it colder faster than stirring it. So whether you want your martini shaken or stirred really depends on if you're having a gin or vodka martini. If you're having a vodka martini, you're better off shaking it using the shaken method. If you want a gin martini, well, you're probably better off stirred. How did I chill this one? Well, it is stirred, not shaken. Anyway, I digress. Yeah. But I remember there was a lot of heat over that. I've read articles going back to the original, talking about shaken not stirred when he first uses that shaken not stirred. A lot of traditional gin or traditional martini lovers kind of went a little apeshit about it. But he's talking about a vodka martini, which really is a different drink. And I had a discussion with some friends the other day. We did a martini show, or is it a martini because of the glass it is served in, or is it the style? And I don't know. That's a tough question. For me, it's an interpretation, right? Because to me, you can put a cocktail in anything. I don't really have any of those traditional. Well, actually, I do, but most of them are in storage. Those traditional martini glasses with the wide rim, because you're going to spill them bastards. I don't care how careful a drinker you are. At some point, you're going to dribble some down your chin. It's just inevitable. But a glass like this is a glass usually more associated with a Manhattan, but because of the shape, it does lend itself perfectly to a martini as well. But I'm a firm believer in what's in a name. Right? Use whatever you have. I've been putting martinis in any fancy glass that I have. Anything my wife has picked up from a thrift store. Hey, that looks good. I'm going to use that. I don't know what the style of glass is. To be honest with you, most of these I don't really have a name. Uh, but they're all very old glassware, and it looks martini looks good in them. Some of them I think are sherry glasses, or they might have been cordial glasses, but they do work for a martini. I think the notion that a martini needs to be served in that wide rim glass at this point is rather archaic. Use what you have, man. I'm a firm believer. Make the cocktail with the ingredients you have on hand. Don't be afraid that somebody's going to tell you you're wrong. Use whatever glassware you have on hand. Don't be afraid to try. Every time my wife brings something new home, so oh, I'll use that for something. I don't know what it was designed to be. In all honesty, I don't have that kind of pedigree, but it looks good. Martini looks good in it. A Manhattan looks good. We're going to use it. I love these old glasses. Classic glassware reminds me of the stuff that my mom and Dad had when I was a kid, stuff that came from the 50s and 60s. In fact, some of the glassware she's picked up from various thrift stores and garage sales, I swear we had the identical ones when I was a kid, but or something we had glasses very similar to this when I was a kid, anyway. Which was interesting. The fact that Dad wasn't a cocktail drinker per se. Dad drank whiskey. Dad's cocktail was basically a highball. He drank whiskey and water, bourbon and water to be more specific. So he wasn't drinking a martini. However, Dad, being who he was, he had martini glass. We had martini glasses and various other glasses because friends would come over and want a martini. And Dad was going to do a drink right. He was just that way. Dad never drank the clear liquors, but his bar always contained them. We always had gin. Wasn't necessarily top shelf. It was usually Gordon's gin, or uh, he always had the gin and vodka and tequila, even though he didn't like any of those. But friends would come over and want that, so we always made sure he had some. If they wanted to bring something, they could. It was always common in those days. If you brought your own stuff over, you could take it home with you. However, well, the however is unless you're drinking some of the host product, right? So you would bring stuff over and you would leave it if you were drinking that plus some of your, if you're drinking some of the host products. I felt like some of that etiquette went away after a few years. I remember being an older kid in the 80s. Remember in the 70s, that was always kind of the unspoken rule, right? If you brought something over, you could take it home. But if you were having the host product, you usually just left it there. Folks would come over, they'd bring something, they'd bring their tequila or vodka or whatever. But if they were drinking whiskey with Dad, they would leave that there, and that would be behind Dad's bar. So the next time they came over, that product was so they can have that product, even though they paid for it. See, the thing was they knew Dad was never going to drink that, right? Dad is never going to drink that product. So a lot of them just preferred to leave it there. That way they knew the next time they came over, their tequila, vodka, gin, or whatever it was going to be there. But I remember in the 80s, folks would, I remember having to knock on the door the next day. Some neighbors sent their kid over to pick up a bottle that they'd brought over. And they were drinking a lot of Dad's liquor the night before. I mean, I didn't know what the kid was talking about. It was if he was pronouncing the name of the liquor wrong, so I didn't know what he was talking about. It wasn't something that Mom and Dad typically had. So I eventually found it for him and brought to them, but they didn't have the balls to come over themselves and ask for their stuff back. They sent the kid over, which was rather bizarre in the first place. But I gave it to him. They took it home, and my mom asked about the next day. So well, he came over and go, okay. Well, that's a little weird because that's just not how things are done here. But okay. But there was kind of that unspoken etiquette that if you brought something over to somebody's house, you left it. So I always carried that with me. And then I realized that the generations now don't see things that way. When they bring something over to somebody's house, even if they're drinking your product, they're going to take their stuff home with them. I mean, that's okay. That's fine. It just wasn't like that back in my day. You brought something to somebody's house, that was a courtesy. You drank that with them, you left it there. And I still carry that notion with me. If I bring something somewhere, I'm leaving it there because I'm probably drinking that, but I'm probably drinking some of their liquor as well. So it's just common courtesy to leave it behind. And if I go back to their house at some other point in time, well, then that product is probably still going to be there. But etiquette is different now than when it was in the 70s and 80s. I just remember my mom shaking her head, going, "Really? They really came and got that after all the shit. That means they drank a lot of Mom and Dad's liquor that night, and they came and picked up a bottle that they drank maybe this much out of, yeah, of a product that Dad was never going to drink. Right? I mean, they could have left it there a week, right, till the next time they came over, and then took it back home with them. But they sent a kid over the very next morning." It's okay. Those folks didn't come over much after that. They were kind of weird. Kind of weird, man. They were probably about 20 years younger than mom and dad anyway, and they would come over with some of the functions, but they were more really about getting drunk than actually really socializing. And dad got drunk, don't get me wrong. But dad was all about socializing and talking with folks. And these people were more about just getting drunk and drinking your liquor and then going home. So after dad figured out what they were about, they didn't come over much anymore. Because dad would call folks out on their bullshit. Yeah. That's why people either really liked dad or they really didn't. And unfortunately, I feel like I inherited some of that. I am a slightly milder version. There's no doubt, but a lot of the same. I've been known to say things when people do something they know they're doing wrong, or at least questionable, if not wrong. I've been known to say things, and then they don't want to hang out. Politics can be strange too. I mean, I've never lost as many friends over politics as I had over the Trump nuts years at 16 to 20, and then now that they've ran him up the flagpole again. Some folks are just dug in so deep but I in the past I hadn't lost friends over politics because it was very simple. It wasn't really about human issues. It was about a difference of opinion. But now we're talking about human issues, and so it really is a whole different ball game now. But I've been told I don't have a filter. I think I have one. It just doesn't work most of the time. Um, but I am admittedly a milder version of how my dad was. Dad was always a member of the American Legion. What I've always found interesting about American Legion politics is that it seems to be the same no matter where you live. I mean, Dad always went through so much shit at that small post 295 there in Cypress, California. And when I came out here, became a member of Post 639 out here, if I was amazed at how it was exactly the same politics. Just the faces have changed, right? Just the names and faces are different, but it's the same bullshit. Dad would do all the cooking for the Legion, and he'd volunteer his time. He'd do all sorts of things, but at some point he would irritate the powers that be, and they'd 86 him until he needed him again. When I joined the American Legion up here, they had this gentleman named Clark Pike who was just brilliant. One of the best human beings I've ever met in my entire life, and one of the best chefs you're ever going to meet. And he was doing the cooking for him. When I the very first time I went there, man, he's just this big flamboyant character. And they get mad at him from time to time, and they 86 him until they realize people aren't coming in anymore because they don't have Clark to cook. And then they bring you back, and they do this to him periodically. It's like, damn, man, I feel like a deja vu that the politics never change in these the Moose lodges, the Eagles lodges. They're all the same. It's that same ignorant, small-minded politics and all these. That's why I won't be a member of anything anymore. I'm not going to be a Moose. I'm not going to be an Eagle. I'm not going to join the American Legion again. Everybody I knew that was a member up there has died. Clark, Lee, all my good friends passed away. Everybody that was a decent human being at one time is now gone. Just the assholes remain. And that's kind of where we are in society. It's not just it seems like just the assholes remain. The good people die and just the assholes remain. Anyways, I'm going to be right back with Martini number two. Okay, so I told you we were taking a few liberties with this one, and I told you if you watched the last video, I told you that I was going to use this particular product. It is the Sugarland Shine Jim Tom's signature moonshine. Excuse me. It is an unaged rye at 100 proof, so it is a little chewy. You got those spicy, chewy notes from that unaged rye. So I used that, and this one I just did dirty. Sean Tomas, enjoying your show. You have to run or own a pub. No, I'm pretty happy the way I am. Drinking a dram of Red Breast 12. You were an American Legion member. No, I was a Sons member. I should have made that clear. I thought I did, but I was a Sons of the American Legion. My dad was in World War II and fought in World War II, and I was a Sons member. So there you go. Just want to clear the air there and be transparent. And American Legions aren't as picky now as they once were, because the membership has dwindled. That they most of them are open to the public anymore. But I just don't go because all of my friends have passed away, and I just I don't have the mind to deal with those ignorant politics anymore. I'm not going to deal with racist, homophobic people. I just don't have it in me to be nice to them anymore. And I live in a very racist, homophobic neck of the woods, and I just don't want to be part of it. I go to the places where I know people have an open mind and they're not ruled by an archaic book and ignorance. Sugarland Shine. I bought three products, this being one of them. Um, I don't remember what the other two are. They've been gone for a while. Like I said, this one kind of got forgot about. But I've had it for over a year now. I bought three products at the time. We were kind of going on a last hurrah. My wife and I. She was making sure I got all the runaround out of my system before my surgery, because I wasn't going to be able to get out for a while. And I've done all the cook. I usually do most of the cooking at home, so she was a little nervous about that as well. So I think she wanted to make sure that I got everything out of my system, because once I got home from surgery, I was pretty much a captive audience, right? Whatever she wanted to serve me, hey, I was going to have to like. Because if I complained about it, well, they could take it out on me. So we'd. That's not exactly true, but anyway. I embellish. I exaggerate for effect. But anyways, no, no, we found some stuff at Sam's and some various, I think what was that thing called? Every Plate or something she got. The food was good, but they seem to really, what's the word I'm looking for? They underestimated the prep time, right? They said this was the prep time 30 minutes. Well, my wife was doing this cooking, prep time was about an hour and a half. However, here's in my wife's defense, I had a friend uh, uh, about a year after that tell me that his wife subscribed to that too. And his only problem, he said the products were good, but the problem was that the prep time was just unrealistic. That if it said 30 minutes, it took a good hour and a half. It's okay. It wasn't just my wife. You cannot cook this stuff. You cannot get this shit. I don't know who they got speed cutting in that kitchen there, but it can't be done in 30 minutes. But the food was good. But we also found some stuff from Sam's that really worked out well too. To be honest with you, the meals that they had. She picked up some manicotti. It was like five manicottis or six manicottis. It might have been six. I think we'd get three meals out of that manicotti, but we'd pair it with the salad. So we had the manicotti and the salad, and there was something else. I think it was like a chicken enchilada or something, or chicken burritos. Can't remember what it was now, but that were pretty good as well. So we kind of worked with what we had. But I will tell you, as soon as I was able to, it wasn't that I love the stuff my wife was cooking, to be honest with you, but I did miss being in the kitchen. So as soon as I was able to, I'd start doing just I wasn't necessarily prepping the whole meal, but I was doing just little things at a time until I could do the whole meal. I had a day job and then a part time job. The day job wouldn't let me go back to work until I had a full unconditional release. But my part time job, they allowed me to come back just a little bit at a time. So I couldn't go back to the regular job for 90 days because that's the doctor wouldn't sign off until then, even though I'd met all the criteria before that. But my part-time gig would allow me to come in. I'd come and work an hour, or I work 2 hours, and I work 3 hours, and I worked 4 hours. Kind of worked my way up to a full shift. Well, they allowed me to do that on they allowed me to do that in increments, so I worked up to working a full shift. But they also made sure that I didn't have to do really. I didn't have to do any of the lifting. Right? They made sure the lifting was done before I got there. That basically all I had to do was come in, take care of the customer, smile, and just be good at my job. And every time I try to do something more than that, if an owner wasn't there or another employee wasn't there, the damn customers would say, "Tom, let me get that for you." So, okay, all right. So there was plenty of regulars that would come in there. I mean, I don't want to mention names now because I know I'm gonna forget one and hurt somebody's feelings. But there were so many folks in there that would just carry kegs for me, do this, do that. Any lifting that had to be done, they'd make sure they'd do it for me. And I didn't realize it had been a year since my surgery until I got a phone call the other day. Holy crap, it's been a year. Really? How are you doing? I'm doing great. Some folks complain that still have problems getting up and downstairs. No, I don't have those problems. Here's the thing. I was in so much pain before that surgery. I had no meniscus left. I had been bone to bone for so long that bone had actually deformed over that other bone that I'd have to physically pull myself upstairs, and going downstairs was even more painful. That when it was after that surgery was done, I could actually walk upstairs. Is there a little bit of pain? Yeah, but I'm old. There's going to be some pain in everything you do, right? But it's nowhere near the pain it was before the surgery. So no, I'm not going to complain about a little bit of pain. That's what life is. Life's all about a little bit of pain. You're going to everything you do is going to cause you pain. I think it's about you know being realistic and managing expectations, right? Uh, I think some people think they're going to have the surgery done and they're going to be just like new. No, you're never going to be just like new. You're old. You had this surgery done because you didn't treat your body well. And I'm going to be the first to admit that I made so many mistakes as a kid. I screwed up my knees and then I got overweight, and that made things worse. And you've got to take ownership for that. You made things worse. You did this to yourself. But you get the surgery done, and you have to do what the doctors tell you to get better. You can't look up articles on Google. Listen to your doctor, listen to your physical therapist. Do not research things online because that's just going to confuse the hell out of you. The truth is, I mean, for me, it was just a matter of listening to the doctor, listening to my physical therapist. I hit all of my 8 week goals at 4 weeks because I listened to the doctor and the physical therapist, and my wife, who would hound dog me if she thought I was up too long. I mean, you're only supposed to be up 5 minutes per hour for the first 2 weeks. You've been up for 5 minutes, haven't you? No, I think it's been more than 5 minutes. Okay, I'm sitting down now. The truth is I think some people want to do less but I think some people want to do more. And I was one of those folks that think, okay, if 5 minutes, if they want me to do this, I want me to do 10 reps, I'm going to do 20. The truth is, the first couple weeks, they want you to stay. They need you to move that knee. They need you to move that leg, but they need that swelling to go down. So if you do too much, that swelling isn't going to go down. That's going to impede the progress. So, and that was a lot of it would help for me. I'll be honest with you, as my wife told me, you need to sit down now. And I've got a friend at work who's also a physical therapist, and he says he tells people, he doesn't mention my name specifically, but he tells people that I know this guy who had this done, and all he says is just do what you're told to do, and it's going to get better. And that's the truth. I mean, just do what you're told to do. Don't do more. Don't do less. Do what you're told to do. Do those exercises they give you out of the hospital religiously. I mean, do those as they tell you to do them. Not more, not less. Do them just as they tell you, and you're going to be fine. At some point, I'm going to have the right knee done, but I still have meniscus in the right knee. The arthritis is bad in both knees, but the meniscus is still intact in the right. So far, so good. So as long as that stays intact, I'm not going to sweat it. So, anyways, I want to thank you for watching my Martini videos. I want to show you this one more time. The first Martini was the Songbird Goldfinch gin. This stuff is great. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that, man. I'm going to post your comment there. As I finish up my martini, I am Tom, I'm going to say Martini Whisper for the purpose of this video. We're just going to skip to the end and say all around good guys, Slancha. Thanks for tuning in, guys.